Hey everyone, and welcome to Marketing Monday with the Watertown SBDC. I'm Nicole. I'm working with the Watertown SBDC on this series. So just so you know kind of what's going on here, every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time, we go live and we're answering your marketing type questions. And the general format is going to be, there's going to be a 15-minute sort of presentation, for lack of a better word, about a specific topic. Today's is about automated emails. And then we'll be answering your questions for 30 minutes related to marketing. So if you have questions you want answered about marketing, you can leave a comment wherever you're watching this video and we'll be able to see it. Or if you want your comment to be more private, or if you just, there's some nuance to it, you can email the SBDC and just put Marketing Monday in the subject line so that they know what that's about. If you want to be anonymous, we'll autonomous? I don't know. We'll make you anonymous is what I'm trying to say. And just if you're watching this on Facebook, sometimes Facebook can be a little weird with sort of permissions, especially if you have a somewhat private account or something like that on Facebook. So just to make sure that we can see your comment, go to streamyard.com/Facebook and you can enable comments. And with those enabled, we'll be able to definitely see them. So before we get the party started, I'm going to have Liz join us here. She's the director of the Watertown SBDC. Liz, what is going on at the Watertown SBDC that everyone should know about?
Hey, Nicole. Well, we have a lot going on at the Watertown SBDC. We always do, but specifically, starting this Wednesday, that's the, what is it? It's the 29th of September. Don't get ahead of yourself, Liz. We have the first in a series we're doing on manufacturing safety. Now, I wanted to call it dirty jobs, but nobody agreed to that. So it's manufacturing safety. And this is a consultant named Kurt Callahan. He's out of Philadelphia, New York, which is right outside of Watertown. He's a certified safety consultant. He's going to be doing a series of 6 or 7 webinars on Zoom. And also they're going to be rebroadcast on Facebook Live every Wednesday at noon, starting the 29th of September. So that's coming up. And I urge you, if you have any kind of safety questions or concerns, tune in. There'll be a live presentation, and then Kurt will take questions. And if you have suggestions for other safety-related webinars training we can provide, please let us know. And you can sign up. Nicole has handily provided the sign up right here. Just click on the link, and you can sign up for that. And it's all free, 100% free, always free at the Watertown SBDC. So
we love your free resources. Thanks so much, Liz, for sharing that with us. So we'll leave that on the screen longer. You know, the link isn't quite clickable, but we did make it short enough so you can at least write it down. And if for some reason, like writing down is not a possibility, the Facebook page as well as the Watertown SBDC website has this information as well. This is just a short way for you to be able to get to it. So without further ado, let's talk about today's topic, which is automated emails. Now, as a business, you probably have sent just a regular old marketing email. Maybe every month you send something to your subscribers about things that are going on. But what I find is that a lot of people don't know that there's a couple of different kinds of automated emails that you can send to make your life as a small business owner easier and a little bit more streamlined. And I don't know about you, but I love a good tool. So I want to talk about what these two things are. I'm using the terms for them in case that you're watching this and you say, oh, I want to look up more about that afterward. So I'm going to just put this on the screen, like I said, so that you can easily refer to the names of these things. So there are 2 different kinds of automated emails I wanted to talk about today. One is what's called an RSS campaign. And RSS stands for Real Simple Syndication. But what you really need to know about it is that anytime a website has, you know, an update or something like that, typically that update goes out over an RSS feed. So let's say that you like to read a bunch of different blogs. Rather than going to each individual website and seeing if there's anything new, you can use what's called an RSS reader. You can add these blogs to that reader, and anytime there's something new, you would see it. So basically, RSS allows a lot of things. And one of the things it allows is an automatic sending of an email when a website is updated. Now, typically, these are it's kind of a free service that comes with your email marketing service. So if you want to send an RSS campaign, you can. And if you already have an email marketing service, you can typically use that. And you have a lot of freedom to set up when the RSS feed is checked and all of that. So I thought this sounds a little confusing. So what I wanted to do is just do a very quick, like how I would set something like this up demonstration. So I use MailChimp for my marketing. You might use something else, but a lot of these will work very similarly. So yeah. So anyway, so I'm in my MailChimp account now. Now this is a free MailChimp account. So like, this is not like not a paid service. And what I did was I clicked on this. I love when people change things to icon menus. I find it kind of a little bit confusing, but this thing that looks like a circle to a square, it's called automations. And then you go to classic automations in the upper right corner. Now, if you have set up an RSS campaign in MailChimp before and you are confused by this, don't worry. I was also confused by this morning when I went to look up how to do it. So what you're going to do is you see there's an automation email here. And there's different kinds of automation emails you can set up. So for example, if you collect your customer's birthday, you can send an automated happy birthday email to them on their birthday, maybe with a little coupon or just a well wish. But something that, what we typically see done is share blog updates. And don't be confused if you don't have a blog. That's just, they use that as a shorthand for an RSS feed because most people don't know what that is. So I'm going to, and I can call this campaign name is something only I see. So I'm going to say, and then I have to select what audience I want to send it to. So typically if you use an email marketing service, you have different lists. So I'm just going to pick my list and click begin. And what's going to happen is it's going to ask me a couple of questions about how I want the automation to work. So I have to first put in my RSS feed URL. Now, don't worry if you're like, I have no idea what that is. The Google is here to help. Like I just looked up where is my RSS feed on Squarespace, for example. Scroll past the ads and go right to the finding your RSS feed. So whatever website builder you use, you probably have an RSS feed, and it's just a matter of finding where it is. So what you're going to do is you're going to stick your RSS feed. Oh, click the wrong thing. Click your RSS feed. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to pretend this is what it is, even though it isn't. And then as you see, one of the things it asks me is when should we send it? So for example, I have a live stream on Tuesdays. And so what I do is I set mine to check every week, and I have it set to check on Wednesday. I don't know, 4 a.m. seems a little early, but it's an automation. We don't have to get up and do it. So we can set it to whatever time we want. So maybe I say, just to give me time. So let's say there was a problem on the Tuesday broadcast. I have time to fix it. On Wednesday at 10 a.m., it will check my RSS feed and it will go ahead and send it. And so then I just click next, and then it asks me other questions. And as you see on the very bottom, there is a list of sort of steps in this. But point being is it's relatively straightforward. And I'm going to see if it lets me, hold on, get to that point. The one confusing thing about the RSS template is that it has what are called merge tags, and you don't need to know anything about them except they just look kind of weird. So I'm just going to get to that really quick. So I'm sending it to my entire audience, and then I have to set it up. So these are what are called merge tags right here. Do you see how it says post from, and it has a little asterisk and a liney thing? I don't know what the liney thing is called. I think it has a name, but so this basically is pulling data from your website. So it's going to say post from, and then whatever the title of the RSS feed is for, and it's going to pull the date of the RSS feed. So you can change this. You can even just like not have any, you can just say like this week's update from your business or whatever. You can make this whatever you want, but the template essentially is going to use these merge tags to pull information from your website and put it into an email template. Now, don't worry, you can still like do some design stuff around it. I'm just going to pick, I don't know. Some of these themed ones are like a little too themey for me. I don't know. It's like when I watch, those shows where they remake houses and you mention that you like, I don't know, black and white films, and they make the whole room black and white films. I think sometimes these can feel like that, but I'm just going to pick one just so that it looks not terrible but we can obviously build our own thing from scratch. But the main thing that we're going to see is that there's going to be these blocks that pull in the little asterisk liney thing in. So there we go. I guess it skipped over that step. I can go over and click the design part to make this format a little bit different if I want to. I guess I clicked too fast. Point being with the RSS feed is that you do have control over what it looks like, but you do have to leave the tags in there so that they actually pull the information in. Sometimes people think like, oh, like I don't need this, and they'll delete it and then it won't work at all. So I'm mainly telling you this, and I don't know why it's taking forever to pull this up, but mainly I'm telling you this so that you don't delete the merge tags. Like I said, they don't need to be in the subject line. It just kind of makes it more dynamic if it automatically pulls in the date. But where is the RSS? There we go. So we have RSS items. We would just pull that into here. And look, there's our friends, the merge tags. So, you know, if you don't want this to say read on and you want it to say like more, read more or something, you can change all of this. It's just giving you a place to start off with so you don't forget the merge tags. So point being is that RSS feeds are really great and they do have a few different applications. For example, you know how you write that press release and you send it out to everyone? Well, one thing you could potentially do with it is also post it on the blog part of your website. And, every time you update it, it'll automatically go to your email list. The other thing I've seen done is that typically, you know, if you're using, let's say you have a new event, maybe you post the event to your website, you have some kind of event management software. Sometimes you can make it so that when you post a new event, an email will automatically go out with that new event information in it, depending on, like I said, what service you use for that event scheduling. But I've definitely seen it done. I've even seen it done where you can make a Facebook event automatically go to a website, and then from the website, it automatically goes to an email list. So point being is that like you can save yourself some time and effort if you really want to. And then, you know, YouTube videos. So think about anything, any place where content is updated and there is an RSS feed. Because like, oh, right, I have to stop sharing this. So like you can make an RSS feed for your YouTube channel. So anything that is frequently updated can have an RSS feed, and any RSS feed can be sent via email. So if, let's say, every time you upload a new YouTube video, you want it to go to your list, that's totally fine. I would recommend also putting it on your website, but if you want to skip that step, that's totally fine. So that is a little bit about RSS campaigns. Now, the other kind of campaign we have, and I'm going to let Erica Davis show this because her example is way cooler than mine, but we have what's called a drip campaign. And how this is different is that emails are sent in a timed order. Now, most of us have been on the receiving end of these, you know, like you sign up for something and you get a welcome sign up email. And about 3 days later, you get another like email that like is checking in on how you're doing. If you think that person is sitting there and sending all those emails, you're mistaken. They have set up what's called a drip campaign. It's typically in a timed order, and you can have as many things in the drip campaign as you want. If you want a series of 3 emails, like for my co-working space, I have 3 emails. If you want a series of 5 emails, if you want 100, you can set up seemingly as many automated emails as you want. And when someone gets them depends on when they signed up for your list. So if I signed up yesterday, but Erica signed up 2 weeks ago, she's in a different part of the sequence, but we're all getting things in the same order. Now, typically this is a paid feature with most email marketing services that I've seen. And, you know, you can also sometimes set them up with what I call conditional logic. So let's say you send a welcome email. The person either opens it or doesn't open it, right? But maybe you want to send them a different email if they did open it versus if they did not open it. So sometimes there's some possibilities allowed there. And I'm going to throw up just this really quick drip campaign example. And then I'm going to bring Erica on to like show her example, because sometimes seeing it is really helpful. At least it is for me. So some drip campaign sort of things that you can do as a business owner onboarding a new customer. So for example, with my co-working space, rather than tell everybody everything at once and making them feel overwhelmed with their lives, they get a series of 3 emails. They get a welcome email, then they get a, hey, meet some of the other members. And then they get the, okay, you know, what's next kind of thing, you know, or how can you participate in Anchor Space? So rather than them feeling really overwhelmed, they get that over a series of 3 emails. Let's say you have some popular content that you know, have been sending out because you've been in business for a while, but somebody is a new email subscriber who might not have seen it. You might want to use your drip campaign to make sure that they see some popular articles or information that you've shared in the past. And obviously to drive people back to your website with that information. You know, and then, and like I said, and if you have, you know, a program or service where somebody needs orientation, like a piece of software or something like that, you of course don't want to verbal diarrhea on people and just like give them too much information. So you can use drip campaigns to do that. So I'm going to bring on Erica here, and she's got like a really cool drip campaign with her business. Hey, Erica.
Hey, Nicole. Some awesome information, truly. And before I forget, I just have one quick question about the RSS feed.
Yeah, sure.
And you were talking about the tags that, you'd want to make sure that you include in your email. Are those basically just like the specific links, right, to either the podcast or an article that you posted?
Well, the merge tags just are pulling information from your specific feed. So your feed has a title, your blog, whatever your article you posted had a title, there's a description, there's, you can say pull in the first 100 characters or pull in the whole thing. So what you want to do is make sure so it's automated rather than typing in specific things, that it references where that information is, so that as it changes, it will pull in the correct stuff. So I guess like what I see is people see code and they're like, there's code, like it shouldn't be there. I just didn't want people to basically delete what was there. And if you want to test it off, just make a list with yourself on it and maybe a couple of friends, and you can do a couple of test sends before you turn it on for your full audience. So don't think it's like this thing that you turn on and never have to touch again. And I know your software does a lot more stuff than mine does with that. So I'm going to let you show it off.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure why, because that's really whatever they are, they're people back, right, to the information. So you have to include them. I want to make sure everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nope. What I'm saying is you'll see the code should be there. Yeah. And if you want to test send and see what the code is sending, that might be a good thing to do. Yeah. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Erica. I'll let you share your screen and all that.
Great. Yeah, no, back to drip campaigns, right? So, and Nicole had a lot of great information. I'm going to share my screen here. One of the things that I do for work is that I'm a franchise consultant. So I work with a company called FranNet. So this drip campaign and this software and this CRM that does all of this work with drip campaigns is not my own, but it's what FranNet uses. So it's pretty sophisticated. But I will say that what this does as far as capability, I think a lot of like the MailChimps of the world or the Constant Contacts of the world also have those capabilities. So I think a lot of this setting up drip campaigns is accessible to any small business owner, no matter what you use. And some of you may be using CRMs or client relationship management systems, but maybe you haven't started to set up sort of drip campaigns. So you can see here that I have, and I got to this screen, we have a drop-down menu. This is all, everything that we use our CRM for, but this is under Campaign Center specifically. And, we use this Campaign Center and drip campaigns for a lot of different things. For instance, I'm going to show you a simple one today, but one of the ways, one of the reasons we use it is like right now we just launched what we call a nurturing campaign. So these are emails that are going out to people who have been in our database for a while, but it's offering really simple information like every other week, some emails, just maybe a quick video clips about business ownership exploration and that kind of thing. It may be, that they're seeing this, that's reminding them that they might be interested in getting back in touch with us, or maybe it's a good time for them and they're seeing this content, right? So that's one way. So that's going to be like a drip campaign that has probably 10 emails that go out within, 3 months or something. And again, like Nicole said, anytime somebody comes in new to our database, they're going to start to get that campaign automatically from the first email, so that's the other beauty of using these drip campaigns as far as, total automation that way. So another example of how I'd use a drip campaign, would be, let's see, I just want to access it here quickly. Let's see. This has been a little bit funny today. So I'm actually having...
Like I said, I had to figure out like where things were in MailChimp this morning, so I totally get you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm like I'm seeing what I want to show you, and then all of a sudden I'm not. But we'll get there. Okay, so here we go. So another example of how I would, a drip campaign that I might set up is something very simple. For instance, when we're starting to help our clients, one of the first things they do is to complete an assessment, right? So that we can then meet with them and better understand what their needs and desires are as far as business exploration is concerned. So we'll send out that assessment, And then oftentimes, right, people forget to do the assessment or they get busy. So this is an example of just setting up, 2, 3, or 4 emails as reminders, and maybe the last email is, hey, maybe this isn't the right time, because we kind of want to know that, right, if they don't need our help right now. So this is just, again, a drip campaign that's like, 4 letters. So you can see if I preview a letter, that's, the template of the actual letter. And then if I go into modifying this whole campaign of these 4 letters, let's see here. Then you can kind of see, like Nicole was showing you, as far as setting them up. You can say when the duration of the campaign. You can say, if I go here, like if somebody has just been sent the assessment link, to complete it. When do I want this campaign to start? As far as when do they first start getting these reminders? I can add that in here, and then there are a couple of different ways to set up as far as how you want things to move from there, as far as but you can see if I choose variable versus constant right here, that I'm given the option to set this up so that their first reminder, right, goes out in 3 days. Then they're going to get another reminder in 4, then they might hear from me in 2 weeks, that kind of thing. And this really gives you a way to set up what you think might work. But like Nicole was saying, I also think that it's really important not to be afraid of this, because it can always be changed and modified. So, and again, one of my biggest things, Nicole, is just that don't be afraid, to just play around with things, right? Because you're not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious when it's time to push send or to go or to save this campaign. And before that, you're really just in this place where you can experiment and kind of figure out what works best. And you can always go back, even if it does go live, and change things up too. And these programs are so darn user friendly now that, like you said, sometimes you run into some roadblocks and you go, okay, wait, what is this or why? But if you have the time to figure it out, it's very doable.
Right. Yeah. And I just wanted to mention the merge tag thing, because like I said, I just have clients who see code and they're like, code isn't supposed to be here. And then the first instinct is to delete it. But I'm just going to throw this on the screen really quick. Again, the 2 things we're talking about are RSS campaigns and drip campaigns. So whatever email marketing software, CRM software you're using, see if there's something built in that you can use. And I'm sure that their whole business is to help you use it. So there are detailed videos about how to use specific kinds, like if you want to set up a MailChimp RSS driven campaign, but what we're doing with these kind of broadcasts that we're doing every Marketing Monday is bringing you concepts so that you can kind of think about using them for your business, a couple of real life examples, and the words that if you want to look them up, you've got. So And is there anything else that we should cover before answering some questions?
Not really. This, again, I think that reaching out to the SBDC office too. Again, we talked about all the free services. If you're really wanting some help with these things, that's an option too, as far as just getting initial help with it or some initial ideas about where to get started.
Yeah, and one way to do that is to go to the SBDC Watertown website and schedule time with a counselor. And the other way to do it is to email the address that's on your screen to directly connect with the SBDC. So we're going to leave that on here for now. Also, if you're watching this and you're like, you have a random marketing question, the kind of thing you've maybe always wanted to ask, but maybe don't feel like you need a whole appointment to ask it, or just are more curious about it than anything else, and maybe don't want to pay a marketing consultant to answer it, that's what we're here today to do. So we do have some questions related to email marketing, though, that I think we could at least start with if people, but like I said, leave a comment, we'll see it. And just as a reminder, if you're joining us now, the streaming software we use, like I said, Facebook, if you have a private profile or something like that, we might not see your questions. So if you go to this link, streamyard.com/Facebook, you can enable comments. And anytime you see this broadcast, you'll be able to leave a comment. You just have to do it one time. So let's get to what some of these questions are. So I love a good loaded question, by the way. So Erica, what is a good open rate for email that you've seen?
Well, I'm curious to see if you agree with me on this, but I've always heard that like that 15% rate or 20% rate is a good goal to have as far as your actual open rate.
Yeah, I agree with that. It depends on what your vertical is or what industry you're in. And what I like about MailChimp is that it will tell you when you send a campaign, it'll tell you the open rate of that campaign. It'll tell you your average open rate for a campaign, and it will say your industry average. So sometimes that can make you feel a little better about your open rate because,
exactly.
You're like, oh, I only got 25%. Oh, my industry average is 12%. All right, I'm killing it. So I think knowing, I don't know, having a little bit of perspective, I think could be really helpful with that. But I would look at, there's plenty of kind of stats out there of like different kinds of emails that are success, what the open rate is. And I think sometimes people get a little bit obsessed with that. I will say if your open rate seems like lower than you expect, check the email address list. The amount of people who cannot type their own email address is surprising. Verizon.cmo instead of .com, things like that are really easy for you to be able to fix. So, and obviously, like I said, the person just mistyped it. So sometimes you can fix a few back there. Sometimes people like just change jobs or whatever and don't use that email anymore. You get the automatic response that says, after you send your campaign, that says, oh, I don't get email at this address anymore. Send it to this person instead. So, you can get rid of those people, obviously, because they've changed jobs, or reach out to them another way and see if they want to still be on your list.
I think it's the overall message of, what you put in, you get out, so really having as clean of a database as you can is going to increase that click rate, for sure. And I forgot to mention when I had my screen up, just that at the top of that, screen on our campaign center were the statistics. I think my overall open rate for all of our campaigns is something like 16%, so, I mean, the other message I think here is that, these programs need to be giving you these answers. This is not hard data to get to. That's part of why you use these, is to be able to see that, those, analytics easily. So
for sure. Absolutely. And, like I said, you want to just establish what a good baseline for you is. And that way, when you send stuff out, you can evaluate whether it was successful or not. And the other thing I will also just say, as somebody who kind of works with system admins a lot, is that there's a lot that can happen between from the point you send the email, it has to go to your server, and then it has to go through like multiple places before the person even gets it. So there's a lot that can go wrong. And, something that I'm just going to throw out there that exists is, how people spoof other people's phone numbers? You get a call from what seems like a local number and you pick up the phone and it is definitely not a local person. People do that with emails too. They spoof emails. And it's, and I'll throw in the name of what this is. So it's called DMARC, like that. And basically what you can do is you can, I think we lost Erica for a second. I'll just take her out of the broadcast and let her rejoin with video. You go to this, you can just Google like DMARC analyzer or whatever, and you put in your, I guess, email, and you can see how many people are spoofing your email. So what happened to me was I was noticing my open rate was a little bit low in my marketing emails. So I was telling my friend about it, who does this stuff. And he's like, oh, what's your DMARC stuff like? And I was like, what's that? So we added my email to it, and 150 people a day were spoofing my email, my company email. And so what we did is we locked it down. And essentially so we set up a service, and it's like, what's allowed to send on my behalf? QuickBooks, because that's how I invoice. MailChimp, that's my email marketing service. So any service that sends automatically because of me is added to a list of authorized senders, and everyone else is just shut down. So that can help your open rate too. If a lot of people are spamming your email address or your company's email addresses, it can, oh, this one's spammy, and then you're getting marked as spam when it's the spammers that are doing it, pretending to be you. So there's a few different things you can do to increase your email open rate. But what you want to do first is establish, like, what is your open rate first? And like Erica said, it's a really easy to find stat in whatever email marketing or CRM dashboard that you're using. So
yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind too that, like I said, we're using campaigns for very different things, whether it's, for new clients, leads, versus existing clients. And so it's really going to, differ. Your click rate is going to differ for each of those campaigns, so, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, so yeah. And I think, so we have another related question. I love these general questions, but I'm sure you get them all the time too. As an SBDC counselor and in your other work too, how do I grow my email list?
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Well, I mean, I think the two of us can give some solid, examples of how to do that. But, the first and most important thing I think is that what's your business? Are you product? Are you service? Are you retail? Are you home-based? How are you going to do this? I mean, for instance, when I had my bookstore coffee house, we were collecting emails at the cash register, because we had those people in front of us, and we also had a frequent buyer program, so that if they were interested in joining our frequent buyer club, then, we were hopefully capturing their email at the same time and offering them, a perk to do so. And again, it's important to think about, why do you want their email too? And, do you want to capture their date of birth, their birthday, at that same time as well? So that's one way, but then you need that retail, brick and mortar to be able to, do that as your customers come in. And anytime, anytime that you have an event, whether it's in person or, virtually, is a great way to collect information from your customers and know that they are officially opted in, right? And wanting to get your information. So you want to make sure that your registration lists are good and you're thinking about the things, the information that you do want to capture from them, whether it's online or in person. What else?
And as somebody who's operated mainly out of my home until, about 5 years ago, I know the pain of trying to collect email addresses because I wouldn't run into people, I didn't have that storefront. And so there are ways to collect emails, right? First of all, you should have a page on your website that just has the email newsletter on it. I will say that, I know, yes, put it on your homepage and all that. But then if someone says, oh, how can I subscribe to your email? What you find yourself doing if you don't have a dedicated page in addition to a sign up on your homepage is you're like, okay, well, go to my homepage and scroll about halfway down and there's a red box. And so I just, mydomain.com/newsletter. And I have the email newsletter. And then I have a couple of past episodes, whatever, sends, so that people can see them and be like, okay, this person has a good email list or not. And I periodically share that newsletter link on social media. I have it linked, on my website, and I try to kind of remind people. And the other thing I do typically before I send an email is I say, hey, the monthly email is going out in a couple of hours. If you want to be on the list, click here. It's going to be we did it all about audio marketing, like Clubhouse and things like that last month. So if it's a topic people want to know about, sometimes they'll sign up, and I usually get 2 or 3 signups that way, at least, and it doesn't take much effort to send it out that way.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
You're talking just some clarification. So on your website, you're not just talking about your contact us page, right? This is totally a separate page just for newsletter information, which is a way to gather that information from new people. Yeah, that's great. Who definitely want to see your newsletter, right? With that opt-in. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this link, and that is the only thing on that page. I'm not saying that you can't collect emails other places on your website, but having it there is really helpful. Because that's one thing to reference. It's the only thing on the page. The other thing I say is to have it built into your forms, a little checkbox that says add me to your list. Now, I'm of the mindset that I don't just add everybody. I make you check off the box. I don't have it auto checked even. I have the box there, but I put it on just as an experiment. And I would say 4 out of 5 people actually check the box on purpose when they fill out the contact form. So give it as an option. Most form software will integrate with most email software. So if you're using you know, like your Squarespace form probably will interact with whatever mail service that you're using. Just look up, you know, or Wix, you know, like how do I integrate my Wix contact form with Constant Contact? Someone has written a tutorial, likely from one of those companies, because they're theoretically making some money off of you. So yeah,
if you're on Wix or something and you go to see how do I integrate all of this, it's right there, and it's you know, crazy easy to make everybody talk to each other.
If you're like not a computer person, just hire someone. They just have to integrate it once. You know what I mean? Just hire somebody, you know, a marketing person or a web development person. And it probably would take them all of like maybe half an hour to do it. And like, you know, it's done because, you know, people like, we do this stuff all day long.
Right.
I meet people and they're like, how do you do this all day long?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what you're saying is it can be affordable to do it that way and to get some help.
But like, but most of the time, like I said, there is tutorials. So if you have more time than money, there is video and likely even a written tutorial with screenshots of exactly how to do it. It's just a matter of being patient, because that's mostly what it is. I do not find myself particularly tech savvy, but I am a very patient person. And I was just looking this up because as you were talking about email stuff, did you know that the return on investment for every dollar spent on email advertising, the average business gets $36 back?
Wow.
So, you know, we do have a lot of people that contact us about, you know, about like, you know, I want to get on TikTok or Instagram or something. And I'm not saying those platforms aren't great, but, you know, if you're watching this and are like, this feels like dinosaur technology, like people actually like still use email and are still making money with email lists. So it's totally worthwhile to grow your list. And it doesn't have to be a big list. My list is relatively small. I've been in business for almost 15 years. I think my email list has 800 people on it, but it sustains me and 4 other part-time people. You know what I mean? So you don't need infinite customers.
That's a tribute to it being a great list for you. These are people who are paying attention, who want your information, and you know.
Yeah, and if you meet me at a conference or something, I'm not some jerk that's just going to add you to my list. I think that's gross. I let people opt in. So you know, like I said, add it to your forms. Do put it on your homepage. Have a dedicated page for your email sign up, and then Facebook actually integrates with a lot of email services to have. You can have a little tab on your Facebook page where people can sign up for your email list too. So you can add things like that to your social media to make it easier for people, and just to remind people it exists, because they forget, you know. And it feels, I think with our own businesses, we feel like we're talking about the same thing all the time, but it's because we're saying it all the time. But all these people are not seeing every message we put out, so it feels repetitive to us, but it's not necessarily repetitive to the person hearing it. So reminding. I remember somebody was like, oh, you have an email thing. That's cool. And I'm like, we've been friends for like 13 years. How did you not know I had a monthly email list? But okay. You never know.
I mean, you may, somebody might, you know, read 2 of your newsletters every year. What, you know, I mean.
Some people save them, you know. Yeah. So you never know kind of what people's consumption is going to be. But all right, shall we move on to the next email related question? Yeah, we've got one more email related question, and we'll see if we have time for the other ones that are back here. But what email service should I use? I always a loaded question, right?
Right. And you know, I'm not going to be, you know, partial to one or the other. The ones I know about, you know, I mean, Constant Contact is a biggie, and one that I used it for at my store, my bookstore coffee house, you know, did my newsletters through Constant Contact for 10 years. But I know that there's so many other applications and you probably are better to tell about specific ones, but we've talked about MailChimp.
And there's Emma, there's Aweber, there's SendGrid, there's tons of them. What you want to do when you're evaluating anything is if you're between a couple of services, I suggest making like a list and actually compare them to each other. Because what they're going to do, obviously, on their sales pages, they're going to talk about stuff they're really good at, and they're going to kind of minimize the stuff that they don't have. So if, for example, if having like automated birthday emails is really important, and there's built-in functionality for that with this service, but not this other one, that's a way to evaluate it. I will say that, like, you know, I just like Constant Contact. If you want to go read my most controversial blog post, where there is a lot of fun vitriol in the comments, you can go to my website and read the MailChimp versus Constant Contact. I did one, and then I did a follow-up one 3 years later because I was getting so many hate comments, and I was like, this post is like 4 years old, so like I don't get why you're leaving me hate comments, so I'll write a new one. Anyway, and I go over like why I feel that way, but honestly, I don't mind whatever service anyone decides to use as long as it's, you know, a CAN spam compliant service. So CAN spam was that law that was passed in 1999 that basically says you can't just randomly email people.
Right.
Like there needs to be a one-click unsubscribe. There needs to be an address in your template. And all of these services are automatically, they are compliant. So you might as well just use one of them. And, you know,
you be compliant, right? So.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, like I said, the free version of this email marketing software, your list might be kind of small. Maybe your list is under 500 or under 1,000 people. And maybe you just want some basic functionality. But if you start wanting like the drip campaigns, if you start wanting, you know, the automated emails, maybe you need to set up abandoned cart emails. By the way, those convert really well. Like over 60% of people who get oh, you forgot this in your cart actually go buy it, which is insane to me that it works that well. But yeah, so you know, is it worth you paying for that if you know that a bunch of people are gonna like come back and convert to buyers? Yeah. And oftentimes these services aren't super expensive. So I have a drip campaign for my co-working space, and I think there is like, I'm trying to think of how many between the lists. I think there's, because I have multiple lists because I'm in multiple locations, I think there's like 800 people. And for the automation and all that, I think I pay like $15 a month. So it doesn't have to be prohibitively expensive, even if you are paying for something. Just use something with obviously the features that you need and an interface that you feel comfortable using, because that's really important, because you're going to be in there sending it. And if you, every time you log in, you think, oh, I hate the way this looks, or, you know, I find this so hard to use, like, you know, it's just not worth it. So
yeah, exactly. To try it out with the trials too are good if you do think that you're going to have to pay for it eventually. But also, you know, like you were saying, as far as looking at comparisons, you know, who's offering what for free, especially getting started, and you don't, you know, you're keeping it pretty simple to start. You know, one over the other might be offering something free that the other isn't. You know, so they're probably fairly standard, but again, using that free trial, like it's also not just about what they are offering, but how you prefer to work, like you just said, you know, and what works best for you, what feels the most user friendly for you too. So
yeah, and the other thing I will say too is so MailChimp just got bought out like 2 weeks ago by Intuit, which is the QuickBooks people. So my opinion might change as they are owned by a larger company. I remember like getting that email and being like, they've been independent for like 15 years. I've been using them like since I started. So that's probably where my loyalty lies. But I was like, wait a minute. I remember getting an email that they got bought out. Yeah, they got bought out by Intuit. It looks like September 13th they made the announcement. So so point being is like, you're not necessarily getting attached to a specific service sometimes necessarily, but like, you know, if you need to move, it's really no big deal. I've moved people before to different services for different reasons. And I've heard good things about SendGrid. I haven't used it myself, but I have a couple of clients who really like it.
I'm not familiar with that. Yeah,
not either. But you know, they're kind of DIYing and they're like, oh, I really like this service. I haven't personally used it, but yeah, like look around and also see what other people in your industry are using. And you know, like Erica has an email marketing system kind of built into her CRM. So if you're using a CRM, there might be some automated email capabilities that are already back there.
Most likely there are, you know, and it just because, you know, part of your organization, if you're working for an organization, or, you know, you want to use, you've used a CRM before, like Salesforce or something. You know, and you know you want to use that for your new business, then, you know, you want to make sure that those options are available. Yeah,
I will say, let me just throw in a little like tip of like, because I think we're about to finish the broadcast. Yeah, we're about to finish the broadcast anyway. If you're sending an email newsletter, my favorite little trick to get more opens is to resend the email a few days later to people who didn't open it with a different subject line. So like I can usually eke out another 10% with that trick. So like you've already put this email together. obviously this is not applicable necessarily if you're doing automated emails, because it's going to send automatically. But if you're sending a regular old marketing email, you sent your monthly newsletter and, you kind of wish more people would have opened it, put a lot of effort into it. Just like give it a couple of days, go back in, select a segment that has not opened the email, change the subject line and resend it. That's my favorite little trick.
Yes.
You've already put forth the effort to make the email, right? So you might as well get that little extra bit out of it.
Yeah, and this, I mean, this segment hasn't really been about content, but while we're talking, just like you're saying, subject line is really important, and it's another thing that you can experiment with, just like you're saying. But it's really important, like even if it's not just to resend the email, which I think is a fabulous idea with a different subject line, is to think about 3 kind of different subject lines that you want to try, and then pay attention to the analytics on each one of those once you've sent them to decide, what kind of subject line is attracting more people as far as actually opening your email or your newsletter. So, yeah.
Right. And as you do more marketing, you're going to work smarter rather than harder. And at first, like I said, the learning curve is a little steep, right? As you're getting all this stuff set up. But once it's there, once your emails are automatically sending, or once you have an email marketing service that you're using, you can start testing things out, which is, I think, a really great idea. So before we close out, is there anything else, Erica, we should tell the folks?
I can't think of anything else. I mean, we could go on and on about this subject probably and get into more detail, but
absolutely. But
I think the biggest message is don't be afraid of trying and at least starting to look into it. There's it's those baby steps with things like this, especially if it seems overwhelming and intimidating, and also to ask for help and support. And with that in mind, I also wanted to mention earlier that, again, these Marketing Mondays, we are talking about specific topics, but ask any question. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to the topic we're talking about. This is what we're here for, is to spend this, 45 minutes with you guys. Yes, offering some great information on specific things, but also to answer any marketing questions you might have. So please take advantage of this and let others know too, right? That you're doing this every Monday, and that also the Watertown SBDC office is, and the advisors are available to help as well with your marketing needs.
Yep. And so I have on the screen the different ways you can contact the Watertown SBDC, including social media and email and phone. If you're not sure, or if you kind of like saw this and want some help, make an appointment with a counselor. And, and like I said, if you have any questions, you can, and you're watching this video on the replay, you can leave the question, leave a comment on the video, even if you're watching it on the replay, or you can email the Watertown SBDC and we'll put your question in our list of questions we have. We've got a little backlog of them anyway. So like I said, ask it and you shall receive, or at least as well as we can give it. So thanks so much to Erica and Liz and everybody else at the Watertown SBDC. My name's Nicole. I've been happy to have you. And please join us for Marketing Monday with the Watertown SBDC. And it's every Monday at noon. So we'll be posting the next one coming up. We can only post them about a week ahead. So tell your friends. We're having a good time here. And we appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you next Monday. Take care.